just shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, October 21st, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Seeing if Rumble's working there. Maybe it is. Hopefully. I don't know. Are we live on Rumble? We were not able to integrate the chat today. Apologies to the audience yesterday on Rumble. Looks like we're live on Rumble. Shout out to Rumble. All right. What do we got for you today on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News? We have Happy Government Shutdown Day number 21. We got all the crying, bitching, moaning, and complaining by the government. Of course, Trump administration blaming the Democrats. The Democrats blaming the Trump administration. Your whole entire government are corrupt. You see the problem here now. We got this reporting, the back and forth, the crying about the government shutdown. Nobody in real life I know even notices or cares. They're definitely not celebrating it enough. So all of this to go over the goings on as usual at the chief executive criminal at the White House, Trump. Had some Indians over there, the kind with the dot today. I guess this is a thing now. We celebrate Diwali, however you pronounce it, Diwali. So that's a thing now. Who knew? Now you know. What else do we got? More of this weaponization of government being exposed by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I guess some people are getting in trouble. Maybe we still need convictions. We're talking the entire government, so they're throwing us some bones. They threw out a criminal referral today for old John Brennan, former CIA director under Obama. So finally something. I mean, man, I'm still a skeleton at my keyboard here because they're all criminals. But today, who is it even? The House Judiciary Committee Oversight, one of these clown committees, finally got somebody a criminal referral. That doesn't even mean, I don't even think that means there'll be an indictment officially yet. But Chairman Jim Jordan has offered up a criminal referral to the Department of Justice, referring former director of the CIA, John Brennan. We'll cover more of that. Finally, somebody somewhere in the government may possibly get in trouble. I'm still not holding my breath here now. And we have had some moments of candor from old John Brennan there. Regardless of all the crimes he's committed against us, he has told us the truth on some rare occasions. We have some other government employees indicted, so hey, it's coming slow. What else do we got? Oh, Trump's trying to work his angle, as he usually is. We'll get to that. On requesting funds for compensation for past federal investigations into him. Cover that. You got DHS, the Border Patrol, queue up Q memes here, posting Q memes. It's not good, man. None of this bullshit is good. We'll go over that. Department of Homeland Security misdeeds, ICE misdeeds. And we continue to cover, who would have thought it was Border Patrol? We didn't know. We didn't know, but now we know. It's Border Patrol, ICE. We should have known Department of Homeland Security. we're going to be a big part of this technocratic, scientific dictatorship police state that we're finding ourselves getting rolled up into now. And so we can say we did not see this coming out of ICE, but apparently that is going to be one of the arms of the crime syndicate they're going to use to roll out this whole scientific dictatorship technocracy, all for your own good, all to get those dirty illegals, you see. And so we're coming to learn these things as we go through the tyranny. What else do we got? We got geopolitical news. What is going on? Russia, Ukraine. We've got, hey, Japan has their first woman prime minister. And so shout out to the womans in Japan there for this great achievement. We'll go over that a little bit. And then other geopolitical news out of Syria, out of UK, and then the never-ending aardvark news, Digital Iron Dome. We got a report on that. And of course, if there's peace over there, they're still whacking Palestinians every day. But hey, there's a peace still because J.D. Vance went there and said there is. And little Marco Rubio said there's peace there. So I guess there's peace, even though they're still stacking the bodies. Strange contradiction that is the aardvark ceasefire deals between Lebanon and Gaza here now. Ceasefire means you keep on shooting people, according to aardvark semantics and logic, apparently. It's quite horrific. We'll cover all of that and much more on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News for you. I want to touch, but it's going to take a deep dive here on this. So we'll have to come back to it on a lesser news day, but we have to, as they say, as old Raggedy Ann said, and Gurr's bringing it back over there on the Odysee, we have to circle back to this one, but we are going to circle back because this is key to understanding the technocracy, is this document right here, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And so we're going to come back and do a deep dive on that. Not today, though, but I'm going to tie it all together if you stick with me. Let's get to this day in history then. Oh, before we get to that, shout out to Barry. Barry on the interwebs helped me with some spell checking. I spelled safety wrong. I don't know why. There's something in my mind. I always put the E before the F, something like this. Anyway, Barry checked out the site for our safety, our new release of our safety Weaponized News shirts for those working out there in the field. And he corrected my spelling error there. And I did come out with a new shirt today, a new taxation is theft shirt today. We'll plug later in the program as per Barry's request. And I'm working on another one as well, but I got to get the text right on it and the imaging as well. So all of that's coming to the Weaponized News store. And again, shout out, thank you to Barry for helping me spell check there. And with that, let's get to, where do we want to go first? This day in history. Let's do this day in history. Let's do this day in history. On October 21st, we don't have that many on this day in history today for you, but we take a look. We go way back, way back, and they were noticing over there in Rome, the Roman Empire. If we go back to the year 335, Roman Emperor Constantine the Great rules that aardvarks are not allowed to circumcise their non-aardvark slaves. So even against male genital mutilation by aardvarks, noticing something just isn't quite right here with all of this Talmudic dark occultist rituals that they continue to carry out throughout history, causing people to notice and say this is not right. So the noticing seen here all the way back in the year 335 by Constantine the Great Roman Emperor. Then we fast way forward in history on this day to the year 1789. On October 21st, French Revolution, the National Assembly declares martial law in France to prevent uprisings. I wonder why everybody's so pissed off over there in France. And in 1824 on this day, Joseph Aspenden patents Portland cement in Yorkshire, England, a major part of the Industrial Revolution there, I would say. And then in 1854, excuse me, famous nurse Florence Nightingale heads to the Crimean War with a staff of 38 nurses to go mend up the wounded there, as they've been fighting over that little peninsula of Crimea for a very long time over there in the Black Sea off of Ukraine and Russia. In 1917, on this day of October 21st, we saw the first Americans to see action on the front lines of World War I. U.S. troops enter front lines at Summerville, under French command. In 1949 on this day, and this is a good one, Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World, writes a congratulatory letter to George Orwell on his novel, 1984. And aren't we that Venn diagram now, where we're in the circle of all these dystopic novels? You are here now. If you've seen that meme, I think we are there in our dystopia. A merger, between Brave New World, 1984, Animal Farm, Fahrenheit, 451, and these other dystopic novels, all Lord of the Flies, you know what I mean? Pick a bunch of them. We're on that Venn diagram in the middle right now, living through it as we march toward scientific dictatorship, technocracy, one world government agenda. So that's very nice of Huxley to congratulate old Orwell there in 1949 on this day about his visions of a dystopic future we now find ourselves in. In 1966 on this day, a very tragic event in Aberfan, South Wales. 166 children and 28 adults die as a coal waste heap slides and engulfs a school in Aberfan, South Wales. It was quite a tragic event. Here's a photo of essentially a coal landslide wiping out the school and killing those aforementioned in this tragic event in South Wales. Here's an image of it. So collapsed essentially a coal landslide, engulfed with sludge here. You can see wiped them out, man. That's scary, horrific stuff. Okay. In 1967, on this day, tens of thousands of anti-Vietnam War protesters march on the Pentagon, besieging the military headquarters for 2 days. They were besieged by the protesters. And then, where are we at here? What the heck, a funny one. Is it? It's not funny if it was your cheese stolen, but just a year ago on this day, October 21st, 2024, the Great Cheese Robbery, a scam is reported to police involving the theft of rare English cheddar worth about 300,000 pounds from Neal's Yard Dairy in London on this day a year ago. And then our civil liberties history here. Aforementioned the big march in 1967, beginning at the Lincoln Memorial, more than 100,000 anti-Vietnam War protesters marched to the Pentagon in the largest anti-Vietnam War protest in the nation's capital up until that time. The events were the subject of writer Norman Mailer's book, Armies of the Night, which won a Pulitzer Prize for general nonfiction. The march was also the occasion for the attempt to levitate the Pentagon by a radical group of yippies. The Vietnam War created a number of civil liberties crises, as we continue to cover here and remind everyone about your criminal government violating your natural rights, civil rights, and constitutional rights for that matter. They include the lack of congressional declaration of war as required by the Constitution, threats to the freedom of the press in the Pentagon Papers case, spying on the anti-war movement by the CIA, threats to freedom of expression, for example, high school student protests, censorship of television programs, and directly and indirectly some of the events that led to the Watergate scandal. And then the Yippie movement on this day in 1967, Yippies try to levitate Pentagon. Pentagon stays put. Yippies for Youth International Party, a colorful 1960s countercultural protest group, probably run by the feds. I haven't looked into it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Anyhow, on this day attempted to exercise and levitate the Pentagon as an anti-war protest. All reports indicate the Pentagon did not move. The Yippies had no membership or organizational structure and was largely the brainchild of Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, and other friends. The Yippies there. Yeah, seems like their psychic powers weren't able to levitate the Pentagon as part of this 1967 Vietnam War protest. Surprised, as am I, that it didn't work out for them. And on this day of October 21st, 1994, U.S. ratifies UN Convention Against Torture. Well, hell, everybody's against torture, right? Well, the United States on this day ratified the United Nations Convention Against Torture, often referred to as the CAT. The full title of the convention is the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment. The UN General Assembly had adopted the convention on December 10th, 1984. Anti-Torture Day is commemorated each year on June 26th. And that started in 1997. Many human rights activists and international law experts argued that the interrogation practices of President George W. Bush in the war on terror involved torture in violation of the UN Convention. See especially the Bush administration's notorious torture memo of August 1st, 2002. U.S. ratification of the Convention Against Torture made it a part of U.S. law and thereby applicable to war on terror policies. Other important UN rights agreements include the Convention Against Genocide and the U.S. ratification on November 4th, 1988, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, December 18th, 1979, which the U.S. has never ratified because of conservative opposition, and the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, March 30th, 2007, which the U.S. has not ratified because of opposition from conservatives. And so in December 2014, the Senate Intelligence Committee issued a 525-page redacted report on torture by the CIA during the War on Terror under President George W. Bush. And so, yeah, violating UN conventions. It's kind of our thing. You know what I mean? So there you go. The UN helping to ensure no torture. And top examples of government involved in organized crime. Iran-Contra affair in the 1980s. The Reagan administration secretly sold arms to Iran despite an embargo and diverted profits to fund Nicaraguan cartel rebels, bypassing congressional bans. This involved high-level officials in arms smuggling, money laundering, and obstruction of justice, resembling state-sponsored organized crime in the name of national security. It's a good conservative thing that the Reagan administration did there, right? Right. Kids for Cash scandal, 2008, Pennsylvania. Judge Michael Cohen and Mark Shavilla were convicted under RICO for accepting kickbacks from private juvenile detention centers. They sentenced thousands of children to extended stays for minor offenses to fill the facilities, profiteering millions in a racketeering scheme that corrupted the judicial system. Operation Greylord, I think we covered this one yesterday. In 1980, Chicago, an FBI probe revealed widespread corruption in Cook County courts, where justices, lawyers, and officials engaged in bribery, extortion, and case fixing as a criminal enterprise. Over 90 convictions, including 17 judges, exposed the judiciary acting like an organized crime syndicate under RICO. ABSCAM, Abscram, 1978 through 1980. An FBI sting operation caught U.S. congressmen, a senator, and local officials accepting bribes for political favors, such as immigration assistance. 7 members of Congress were convicted of bribery and conspiracy, highlighting racketeering within the federal government. Key West Police Department scandal, 1984. The entire department was indicted under RICO for running a protection racket for cocaine smugglers. High-ranking officers, including the deputy chief, accepted bribes and facilitated drug trafficking, turning a government agency into a criminal operation. The 1MB scandal in the 2010s out of Malaysia, Prime Minister Najib Razak and associates embezzled over $4 billion from state-owned M1DB fund through shell companies, laundering money for luxurious purchases and Hollywood films. The state-sponsored fund involved bribery and money laundering on a massive scale. Russian mafia state under Vladimir Putin, 2000s to the present. The government is intertwined with organized crime, where officials, oligarchs, and FSB officers form a kleptocratic system. Activities include money laundering, extortion, and state protection of criminal enterprises, with Vladimir Putin as the de facto boss. North Korean state-sponsored crime, ongoing. The regime operates as a transnational criminal organization engaging in drug production, counterfeiting, hijacking, and arms smuggling. These activities fund the state, with examples like the 1987 bombing of Korean Air Flight 858 as state-sponsored terrorism out of North Korea. Fujimori's regime, the late 2000s and late 1990s and early 2000s out of Peru. President Alberto Fujimori used state intelligence funds to bribe politicians, judges, and media while embezzling $600 million. His administration included death squads and rigged elections, functioning as a corrupt enterprise with organized bribery and extortion. And the Gürtel scandal, the 1990s through the 2010s out of Spain, a network involving ruling party officials and business. Francisco Correa rigged government contracts in exchange for bribes and illicit donations. This led to over 200 convictions, including high-level politicians, exposing systemic racketeering that toppled the Spanish government in that case. And it just goes on and on and on, and we'll try to bring you more every day, proving to you how government is a racketeering organized crime syndicate. And then let's all shed a tear for day 21 of the government shutdown. Here's our segue to the news. Leader John Thune out of the Republican Senate crying about it's the Democrats.
This is the fourth week of the Democrat shutdown, but we are all here today because your Republican team in the Senate is unified. This is now the longest full shutdown in history, but everybody here has voted now 11 different times to open up the government, and we are going to keep voting to open up the government, and eventually the Democrats, hopefully sooner or later, are going to come around.
Man, these Republicans are losers. They want the government open. Longest shutdown ever. I don't know. We're celebrating over here at Weaponized News. We've already seen the impacts of this dangerous game they're playing. Here's Trump crying about the government shutdown.
We've already seen the impacts of the dangerous game that they're playing. Democrats are causing delays in our air traffic control system. So important. We wouldn't have had, this Pete Buttigieg, he spent billions of dollars on fixing the air traffic control that used copper wire going into glass wire. Any union electrician here or any non-union electrician would say you can't hook copper into glass. It doesn't work. They spent billions of dollars. They turned on the system, and it was stone cold blank. We're getting a brand new system. We have bids out now. We have 3 great companies bidding. And I want one bid. Sean Duffy's doing terrifically. I want one bid. I want just bid, and they're responsible for everything. Not where they had like 1,000 contractors. Every contractor, they're all running around. In the end, if one of them does a bad job, we want to be able to blame somebody, and it's going to be one of the very big companies because there's a lot of interest in it. So the air traffic control system is going to be rebuilt. Over 1 million federal workers right now, as you know, are going unpaid. That's the Democrats' fault. And children, tourists, unable to visit the museums in Washington, D.C., that we now have beautiful, safe streets, but we don't have the museums open. We should probably just open them. But we are doing things that nobody's ever done, nobody's ever seen. So all of this and the pain that...
Beautiful, safe streets, but none of the museums are open. Well, thanks a lot for that, for your public service there. Here's more crying from Republicans who are all big government hack shill. This is your Republican Party under MAGA. They all love the government.
The Republicans here are united, and we're united in standing strong with President Trump. This government has been closed now for 21 days, and the Democrats have had a chance to reopen it 11 times, and each time they voted no. No to reopen the government, no to pay the troops, no to pay the Border Patrol, TSA agents, people who do flight control, all of those things critical for our nation. The Democrats continue to vote no.
There you go. Pretty based by the Democrats, if you ask me. That's a John Barr Rossimo, Senator Majority Whip out of Wyoming. They're all big government lovers. Republicans are unified in reopening the government for the American people. Leave it closed. While Democrats play political games and hold the government hostage over free health care for illegals. That's what the White House is putting out, and that is their narrative they're sticking to there. More on the victims of the Schumer shameful shutdown. Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, head of the USDA. Let's hear her crying about it.
No, that's right. The Farm Service Agent, the FSA offices all over the country are closed right now. These farmers, even if they have checks in hand, under some old rule, have to have a USDA signature. We're working to change that moving forward once we get through this as well. But no, it's sort of an unbelievable compromising situation with this government shutdown, not just for our farmers, who of course are our number one constituents at USDA and frankly the backbone of this country, but for the SNAP program, the food stamp program, which of course we administer, for the WIC program, which we administer, just the running of a massive agency. But back to your point, I thought was so good on the farmers and these loans, this aid.
So there you go. We have no free market. We have centralized control, command and control economy, especially in our agricultural sector. It's right now is the perfect example to point out, hey, don't be dependent on government, because these are the clowns that are supposed to keep the wheels turning, and they can't seem to do it. And so, yeah, if you're on, food stamp, SNAP program, should have seen this coming. Sorry to tell you. Day 21 of the Schumer-Jeffrey shutdown, and 13,000 air traffic controllers are working without pay. Well, isn't that good of them to do their civic duty there now? Yeah, I'd be careful flying out there right about now on relying on, they're retooling the entire air traffic controlling system. As you just heard Trump announce there, they're retooling the entire thing. Disgruntled employees. Now may not be the safest time for commercial air travel, just saying. And let's hear now from the most based man in government as of right now, Chuck Schumer.
It's the methodology of what they're doing, which is basically saying, I have a baseball bat. I'm going to hit you over the head unless you give it in my way.
I want to play some
it's not even hitting me over the head. It's hitting all those people who need their paychecks to pay their families.
It's like hitting them over the head with a baseball bat. Damn, Chuck Schumer. Here's some more crying. Who's this? Senator Heinrich says he will not vote to pay our troops, TSA agents, or law enforcement officers. Sounds pretty damn base to me. Let's hear him over here on CNN.
Some Republican senators have pushed a bill that would pay government workers who have not been furloughed as part of the government shutdown. Those who have been furloughed would still be without pay. Is this something you would support?
I'm not going to pit some of my government employees against other government employees. I think that just gives the president more leverage to really make the situation worse and treat some government employees with incredible disdain. We've already seen a lot of government employees fired during the shutdown who didn't need to be fired. This is an administration that's very hostile to government employees. I have a lot of those folks in my state, and I'm not going to turn my back on any of them.
So,
not hostile enough. What they say? They fired like 4,000 or something. Nowhere near enough. You've already been replaced by technocracy. Was Plutonium says the shutdown sounds like a huge distraction. Yeah, kind of is. Nobody, unless you're on food stamps, I guess 41 or you want to visit a museum, or you want to take commercial air flights, that's where it's getting kind of sketchy, actually. 41 million Americans rely on SNAP. That's way too many. Again, centralized control of the economy in our, quote, free market capitalistic system, which does not exist in the agriculture sector. It doesn't exist in any sector, actually. As they continue to tell us we're in this, capitalist utopia. We're in a quasi-socialist utopia with command and control systems operated by a private central bank, and the government constantly meddling into different market sectors. 41 million Americans rely on SNAP, but because Senate Democrats continue to hold the government hostage to their far left demands, it couldn't just be their Democrat, it has to be far left demands, you see. These benefits may dry up starting in September. Well, stock up now. You got a heads up if you're even paying attention on the SNAP program. And then, hey, nothing like a new black hole of a slush fund has just been created here because NASA, this reality TV show guy, Sean Duffy, acting head of NASA and transportation secretary, he's announced that we're in a space race with China now to go back to the moon. So a black hole slush fund here they're creating. Let's watch the announcement here. NASA gets closer to historic moon launch in 2026. Really? I don't believe a thing these lying criminals say, but this is what they're going to put forth to the public.
The president wants to make sure we beat the Chinese. He wants to get there in his term. So I'm in the process of opening that contract up. I think we'll see companies like Blue get involved and maybe others. We're going to have a space race in regard to American companies competing to see who can actually get us back to the moon first. But I feel pretty confident with this competition, we're going to beat the Chinese and do it in President Trump's term. The president wants to make...
What a freaking scam. They just announced a giant new scam. Space race to the moon against China. Seriously? Yeah. Seriously. At the White House today, the President Trump is honored with the Richard Nixon Foundation's Architect of Peace Award. This is laughable, but Trump does love his idols. Established in 1995 following President Nixon's death, this prestigious award celebrates those who advance his lifelong goal of fostering global peace. Well, you know, under Nixon, Foreign Policy State Department Memorandum 200, the how we foster peace is we depopulate the third world, you see. And here's another idol gift for Trump. You can see it right here. Very lovely there. Very lovely indeed. They tell us, I don't know, maybe where you're at, but not here in California. Gas prices hit a 4-year record low. They tell us out of the Department of Energy. Maybe where you're at, and I do realize it's not all on the federal government here in California. Much to do about the high price of gas is state taxes and regulations here in California. So good. So, hey, more power to you if you're in a state that's seen record low gas prices after 4 years of unrelenting price increases. But there is no inflation, we're reliably told. Here's Trump. I guess is a new thing. I see him celebrating everywhere. Never let, we're everything to everyone, but literally nothing to anyone is, the politicians, how they go about life, apparently. But a new one to me, Diwali, I guess now is being officially celebrated here in America. Here's Trump at the White House today celebrating Diwali.
Thank you very much. You're welcome to the White House as we celebrate Diwali, because they said there has to be a very heavy emphasis on the V, Diwali.
Diwali.
Beautiful Hindu festival of lights, and that's what it is. It's a great festival, and it's amazing people.
Hindu festival. There you go. Diwali. That's not how it's spelled, but I guess it's with a V. It's Diwali, but I guess you have to pronounce it with a V in Hindu. So there you go. Learn something new here at Weaponized News every day. Trump lights the Diya in the Oval Office to celebrate Diwali. Here is said lighting ceremony.
Yeah, if you want. Thank you all. Thank you.
There you go. Diwali ceremony there at the White House today. And then this guy's committed to Trump and MAGA, apparently. A complete moron idiot. Pardoned Capitol rioter, J6 rioter, right? Charged with threatening to kill Hakeem Jeffries at New York City event over the weekend. Dude, let it go. Like this guy didn't learn his lesson after J6. You know what I'm saying? Court documents obtained by ZBS News said Christopher Moynihan was arrested Sunday after saying in text messages that he planned to, quote, eliminate Jeffries when the top House Democrat spoke at an event in New York City on Monday. Jeffries spoke at the Economic Club of New York on Monday. Moynihan was arraigned today and entered a plea of not guilty, according to court filings by prosecutors in New York State criminal case. Moynihan wrote, Hakeem Jeffries makes a speech in a few days in New York City. I cannot allow this terrorist to live. Moynihan is a brainwashed fool because all these politicians are just puppets. And I appreciate the sentiment, but do not by any means threaten any public officials because they will come down on you. We love the government here at Weaponized News. We love corruption. We love the grift. And we love the crime syndicate. That is your U.S. federal government and all governments for that matter around the world, large and small. Moynihan also allegedly stated, even if I am hated, he must be eliminated. I will kill him for the future. This guy is some kind of moron. He probably does deserve to be locked up, honestly. If these charges are true, this guy is some kind of moron. What in God's name would taking out Jeffries do? There's another Democrat lined up right behind him. You know what I mean? It's just. So, yeah, don't threaten public officials. Well, hey, it's always for the children. This is Melania Trump. They've been rolling it out. Be best emerging technology. Our children and their future demand our attention. Congress made a significant initial step forward by passing the Take It Down Act. However, technology is advancing at a pace that exceeds our imagination. New tech tools will bring extraordinary potential and unprecedented risks. Be observant, curious, and continue to learn. Let's hear now from First Lady Melania Trump using protecting the children as cover as they're rolling out a new phase of censorship on the interwebs, all to keep the children safe.
I'm so happy to see actions like the Take It Down Act and the Be Best initiative who are actively pushing towards amplifying young voices.
It's amazing that the First Lady would like to engage in dialogue with youth and understand exactly from the people who are being affected by these issues today.
One of the biggest concerns we have about teenagers online is exposure to harmful content. So the Take It Down Act has been a huge step in the right direction.
Obviously, we don't advocate children being exposed to harmful content on the interwebs, but as everything else, the government always starts out well-meaning and twists it into abuse of our rights, is the warning here now leading right into this story. It was all for our own good, national security, keeping us safe. Turns out, yeah, the government was weaponized against us, you, me, American citizen taxpayers. New out of the office of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, rogue character out of the old X-Men comic book series there. Trump admin agencies coordinating to expose Biden admin's prolific and dangerous weaponization of government. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard created an interagency weaponization working group, which includes officials from the Office of Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, the DOJ, CIA, and more. And so we can't trust these agencies to keep us safe from weaponization of government. I don't know who we can trust to keep us safe. Right? Right. Okay. And so what does all this amount to? Well, she posted this on her X today through Fox News article. The Fox News article details the Trump administration's establishment of the Interagency Weaponization Working Group, IWWG, a collaborative effort involving key agencies like the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, the DOJ, and CIA, initiated by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard in April of this year, 2025. The group meets bi-weekly to investigate and expose what they describe as the Biden administration's widespread and dangerous weaponization of government against Americans, including targeting political opponents, pro-life advocates, parents at school boards, and religious groups. This aligns with President Trump's executive order mandating accountability for such abuses over the past 4 years. Statements from Gabbard, Attorney General Bondi, and FBI Director Kash Patel, who's Epstein, we don't know, emphasize restoring transparency, equal justice, and public trust, while countering media claims of politicization by framing the IWWG's work as evidence-based oversight rather than retribution. The formation of IWWG, I think we covered that. The timelines of operation, they started on these bi-weekly group meetings back in April of this year. And I don't know, nothing new really, maybe. So yeah, we investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong. I don't know. They say they're finding wrong stuff. Examples of alleged weaponization: Biden-era actions like persecuting pro-life groups, anti-Christian bias, interviewing priests for anti-Catholic memos, and orchestrating intel to discredit the Hunter Biden laptop story. No mention of censorship. They banned like half of the internet for questioning the medical intervention and elections and J6. You know what I'm saying? So no mention of that, but I'm sure the government investigation will bear the fruits of honest, transparent government. Right? Right. You believe that? Yeah. And then finally, something happened here. We're still waiting for an indictment to be announced, but old John Brennan, call me Muslim, traitor to America, CIA director under the Obama administration. This character, if you can remember him, he has been criminally referred now by Jim Jordan. And so quite a shocking development. Someone, some way, is accused of wrongdoing in the government. Today, Chairman Jim Jordan referred former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, John Brennan, to the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution after Brennan knowingly made false statements during his transcribed interview before the committee in 2023. While testifying, Brennan made numerous willfully and intentionally false statements of material fact that were contradicted by the record established by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and CIA, including falsely denying that the CIA relied on the discredited Steele dossier in drafting the post-2016 election intelligence community assessment, and falsely testifying when he told the committee that the CIA opposed including the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment. Brennan's assertion that the CIA was not involved at all with the Steele dossier cannot be reconciled with the facts as newly declassified documents show. A CIA officer drafted the annex containing a summary of the dossier. Brennan made the ultimate decision along with the then FBI Director James Comey to include information from the dossier in the CIA and ICA, and Brennan overruled senior CIA officials who objected to the inclusion of the dossier material. Whoop-de-freaking-do. So that's crimes against Trump, I guess against the American people, because they drug us through the Russiagate scandal for all of Trump's first term, essentially. But really directly affecting Trump there, and no remedy or justice for all the crimes he committed against the American people, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And then, hey, maybe the skeleton's growing back some skin for Halloween. I don't know. Government employee arrested for unlawful retention of national defense information. The FBI tells us here now. The FBI has arrested Ashley Tellis, a senior advisor at the Department of State and a contractor within the Department of Defense. It's actually Department of War. They need to correct that, but we'll cut them a break because of government furloughs, right? Nah, they shouldn't get a break, but we'll spell check and fact check the government for free here at Weaponized News because we care so much here about accuracy. Anyway, more about this arrest for Ashley Tellis. She's arrested for allegedly removing over 1,000 pages of classified national defense information from government facilities and storing them in his home. Turns out it's a man. Ashley, what the hell? Probably out of South Carolina, right? This arrest should serve as a stark warning to anyone thinking about undermining national security. Oh, we know, FBI. The FBI and our partners will do everything within our power to find you and hold you accountable. Yeah, we know all about your national security there, FBI. So, hey, they're cleaning up the corrupt government. And then this ties into, it's all about Trump's narcissism and his egomania. Trump is demanding $230 million from the Justice Department as compensation for past federal investigations into him, including the Russia probe and the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. The claims were filed before he returned to office, but any payout would now be decided by Justice Department officials who previously served as his lawyers or defended his allies. Well, at least Trump's looking out for the American people, as per usual. Oh, no, he's not. He's just looking out for himself. And that's according to a report out of the failing New York Times. And then I don't know what we're to make of this. It is TMZ, but it turns out they're actually more accurate than much of their reporting than your Mockingbird corporate media out there. TMZ stands by story after White House denial. Trump considering commuting Diddy sentence possibly this week. And we've seen the back and forth where Trump's asked this by reporters, says, I don't know, maybe, possibly. So who knows? Epstein was a Democrat hoax, so this probably is too. So we might as well commute Diddy sentence there. I don't know. I don't know how that it's rumors, interweb rumors there. I don't know if Trump would really do that, but wouldn't surprise me honestly if he did. And with that, well, let's blast through. How much have we got till the top of the hour? Quite a bit on the tyranny here. Here's a teaser, as they say, and then we'll take the break and come back. This is Border Patrol posting Q memes. And so it makes me want to throw up, honestly. How it feels to be a criminal illegal alien who evaded deportation during the Biden administration when Border Patrol rolls up to a sanctuary city you've been hiding out in. And they post this, of course, white rabbit meme. And what is this? 9/11 on the clock here, almost. You know what I'm saying? Makes me want to throw up. The good guys, the white hats are in control and we're getting mass deportations. Turns out that's just simply not true. I ran the numbers here, and this is very conservative numbers. We're talking 13,000 illegal, or 13 million illegal aliens over a 3-year time frame, and this is going 24/7, 365. According to these calculations, and again, this is very conservative, I believe it's over 20 million illegal aliens in this country, but we're going with a conservative estimate of 13 million over 3 years. That's running nonstop, 365, 24/7. We need 4,333,333 deportations per year. That's 361,111 deportations per month to get all these illegals deported in the next 3 years. Again, with these conservative estimates of 13 million illegals, I do believe it's over 20 million. And so we're nowhere near the numbers as the White House today on War Channel, Fox News brags. 515,000 illegal migrants deported. Well, our numbers here tell us we need 4,333,000. So we're not even close, as they brag. 1.6 million voluntarily self-deported and illegal immigrants arrested, 485,000. So these numbers are a joke. There is no mass deportation program. They're using that whole narrative as a cover for Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and the rest of them to build out scientific dictatorship, technocracy, you see, digital ID, and the rest of it. The wall to keep you in, because they're not, the numbers just don't bear out. They're not even close, but keep on believing the lies of this technocratic police state. And with that, we'll come back with more from Homeland Security. But let's take our live commercial break here now. And here's a new shirt for today that I created with the suggestion from Barry. Shout out to Barry. Thank you for that suggestion. And keep the ideas coming here, and I will create the shirt. But here's the newest one. Here's the newest T-shirt in Weaponized News store here. Let me throw that on the screen for our audience. And yes, indeed, taxation is theft. And here's a different take on it with Uncle Sam. Taxation's theft, literally extorting you at the point of a gun there. And we have it in a few different colors. Taxation is theft at the Weaponized News store, there for your patronage. We appreciate it. And of course, as always, we have the Weaponized News stickers there. The holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear sticker at Weaponized News Store. We have new safety work shirts up there as well. And I'll stick with my goal of at least one new design a day, maybe two. I'm working on a hat. I'm trying to find a good hat. The hat up there is just like blah. I don't know. I want a better hat, but the ones I keep pulling up, they're out of stock, they tell me. You know what I mean? So still trying to find a solution for a solid baseball cap over there with the Weaponized News logo. And we'll roll out more designs once I find a decent baseball cap over there. But a lot of products now as I'm building out the Weaponized News store. So go to weaponizednews.com and take a look at some of the merchandise we have over there. Appreciate all of the donations, the subscribers. Keep it coming, man, as we're doing this big fourth quarter push to try to fund this operation into the next year and maybe somehow, some way, make it a profitable enterprise. Last year, we about broke even. That's not counting any pay for our time, effort, and energy and intellect it takes to put on this operation known as Weaponized News. But we do have overhead. We have the streaming service, Restream. We have some subscriptions to AI services to help bring you as much information as possible. And a few other services here now to pay for it. Web hosting, another one, domain name, and so on. I don't need to go through the whole list of our expenses here at Weaponized News, but know that we have some overhead to put the show on for you, streaming Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. I think I took off 1 or 2 days the last year. You know what I mean? So pretty committed over here from me. I need the commitment back from you, the audience. Give us some support monetarily there at the Weaponized News store. And donations, we take Cash App, buy me a coffee. Bitcoin wallet address is in the description below this video. And again, let me show you this shirt. This is one I got. Your basic Weaponized News. You can see there on the t-shirt logo, right there on a white t-shirt. I think it came out pretty slick, honestly. And so we're continuing to build out the Weaponized News store for your patronage and enjoyment. I appreciate all the support we've gotten so far, and the mission will continue here now. Okay, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 edition. Back to the police state, the Department of Homeland Security. They tell us here now it's an easy choice. Leave voluntarily and receive $1,000 check, or stay and wait till you are fined $1,000 a day, arrested and deported without any possibility to return legally here now. So Department of Homeland Security is bragging that they find illegal aliens over $10 billion for being in the country illegally. You think you're seeing, they're not paying it. They're not paying it. So whoop-de freaking do with your big fines there. Yeah, they're not paying it. Continuing here with the memes, even on furlough, the Department of Homeland Security staying true to their meme game. The enemies are at the gate. Join.ice.gov. We'll have more of that in a minute here on the reporting. Okay. Shame on us for what? Finding illegal aliens, making communities safer, arresting criminals. Here is a propaganda video out of Department of Homeland Security. And again, it's propaganda. They're not living up to, even at the most conservative estimates, the mass deportations that are needed. But they are building out a police state. Ice Barbie, dog killer woman, Kristi Noem says that the federal government was withholding aid against Americans in crisis based on their political beliefs. This should be horrifying. This should horrify every American, regardless of political persuasion. For years, FEMA employees under the Biden administration intentionally delayed much needed aid to Americans suffering from natural disasters on purely political grounds. They deliberately avoided houses displaying support for President Trump and the Second Amendment, illegally collected and stored information on survivors' political beliefs, and failed to report their malicious behavior. We will not let this stand. Well, problem is, same characters, same order followers that carried out these illegal, unconstitutional violations against the American people that they're still working for, said FEMA. And they'll have no problem putting you in a migrant detention facility, i.e. FEMA camp. So a lot of hot air bullshit coming out of the head of the Department of Homeland Security. And so when are we going to see heads roll? DHS exposes how FEMA officials under Biden administration, well, they all need to go to prison now. Now. I have a sneaking suspicion that many of them still work for said government. This rioter obstructed law enforcement and blocked the driveway so vehicles could not enter or exit. That seems to be an ongoing theme up there in Oregon. Blind protester dragged, detained by feds, says agents picked the weakest person they could find. Here's said video of the Department of Homeland Security ICE agents detaining the weakest person they could find.
Wait. You just hit me. You just hit me. Don't you fucking tell me what to do, you fucking cunt. No, man. This is not your fucking property. Yeah. Get it back. I'm glad you know it too. Hey, assholes. Dance on your goddamn grave. Hell yeah, I hope somebody kills you guys. If they do, we should give them the Medal of Freedom. You have no idea how much I'd like to beat the fucking shit out of you.
Let me help you. So that's a friggin' disaster there. You know what I mean? So obviously cussing them out, blocking the driveway at the ICE facility, blind. And so it's like one of these cases. There are no good guys. Sorry to tell you. Don't threaten the government. Any of these officials, don't block their actions. They're going to come down on you, man. But we're still waiting for those mass deportations any day now. Chicago area judge rules ICE agents can be arrested at courthouses. And so we're seeing a big pushback here at the state level against the feds. ICE's athletically allergic recruits the Atlantic. And Kristi Noem, we played this video yesterday. DHS under fire for sharing doctored video portraying black teens as ICE threats. Man, oh man. Okay. The Trump administration's push for aggressive immigration enforcement. We've seen several developments highlight operational, legal, and public relations challenges for ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. A Chicago area federal judge ruled against ICE's warrantless, quote, collateral arrests of migrants at courthouses, emphasizing the need for safe access to justice and even allowing for the arrest of violating federal agents. Meanwhile, ICE's rapid expansion efforts to hire 10,000 new deportation officers face setbacks due to high failure rates on basic fitness tests, prompting shortened training and concerns over recruitment quality and safety. There's no educational requirements, no age requirements. Any redneck that's a racist with a shotgun, you'll do. Just kidding, but I mean, it's like we're like there, you know what I mean? Adding to the firestorm, Ice Barbie drew outrage for posting a doctored video on Department of Homeland Security official X account that falsely portrayed black teenagers as threats to ICE agents. That doesn't even make any sense, right? I guess there's black illegal aliens, the pigmentation of your skin, but these are like, they're portraying like Chicago youth. Let's take a look now back at this because we played this yesterday. And it was rather odd that Department of Homeland Security would post this. So turns out that it's this guy. This is some sick and disgusting shit, he says. Dude. Some lethal just happened. Trump's Homeland Security reposted a young black man's months-old video altered with AI to change his words from Iran to ICE. The doctored clip was shared by Department of Homeland Security official account with threats that they will hunt you down. Now he and his friends are being harassed, doxxed, and targeted by thousands. This is the risk of being pro-America. He spoke on behalf of the might of the American military, and now he is being hunted by the very state he endorsed. This is state violence refined and rehearsal in public persecution. Not fighting Trump is not an option. Fred Hampton told us school is not important. Work is not important. Nothing is more important than stopping fascism, because fascism will stop us. And of course, referring to this clip, F around and find out, right? I mean, that in and of itself is extremely unprofessional, but okay. If you threaten or lay hands on our law enforcement officers, we will hunt you down and we will find you really quickly. And so they're saying this was doctored. He was actually supporting America's bombing of Iran. Turns out they twisted it into his opposition against ICE, which makes no damn sense, but what the hell? We're in this dystopic nightmare of propaganda and lies coming from our government. So why would it make any sense? He's black and that's good enough, right? Damn, man. Damn it. Damn it, I tell you. So, yeah, the ongoing debacle, no mass deportations, just a whole lot of propaganda, even with federal propagandists on furlough. They're finding some way, somehow, through their undying need to provide civil service and propaganda and lies to the American public. The memes and AI distortions will continue for your entertainment. Wow. Amazon plans to robotize 75% of its operations, translating to more than 600,000 people Amazon will ultimately replace with robots. Huh? We're told that it's a booming economy. The manufacturing's coming home. Huh? Turns out, yeah, it was all a ploy for scientific dictatorship, technocracy. And then what do they do when the depopulation picks up? There will be no one to buy said product. Oh, what the hell? Weaponize these robots as well and, finish the net zero task at hand. You see, Amazon's automation strategy aims to robotize 75% of its operations, displacing over 600,000 workers. So they put your mom and pops and your small businesses out of business by cutting the price, then raising the price after they're out of business. Now we're going to go ahead and cut the workers too, you see. Internal documents show executives plan to avoid hiring 160,000 U.S. employees by 2027, saving 30 cents per item processed. Anything for cost efficiency here. I don't know who will buy your products at this time, but I guess the population level will even out somehow. I'm sure they've worked all of this into their analysis. The robotics team expects no workforce growth despite doubled sales by 2033. So you keep on, digging your own hole here now. In Shreveport, Louisiana, Amazon's advanced warehouse uses 1,000 robots, cutting human staff by 25% last year. By 2027, it projects halving its workforce there. The company plans to replicate this in 40 facilities across the country. So isn't this all so wonderful? And we do have video here now of your robot replacements. And so that is the robot recharging itself. Does the little guy get the full 1,000? Maybe. I'm sure there's some shyster lawyers out there saying, give my illegal aliens that were deported their $1,000 for voluntary deportation. All right, what do we got here? Okay, we came back. I told you yesterday we're going to come back to the story. We did. I had to break the paywall, though. Blindness cured with revolutionary bionic chip. Electronic implant restores sight to patients with age-related condition, heralding new era for artificial vision. And this is out of the UK Telegraph, but it's behind a paywall, so we had to break that for you. And here it is out from behind the broken paywall. And let's take a look at this. Blind patients can read and recognize faces again with a revolutionary bionic chip that is said to signal a, quote, new era for artificial vision. The implant is an ultra-thin wireless microchip measuring 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters, which is inserted under the retina and links to a video camera fitted on a pair of augmented reality glasses. Dozens of patients who suffered from age-related macular degeneration, AMD, were fitted with the device on a trial at Moorfields Hospital in London, which called the device revolutionary after more than 80% of participants reported major improvements. About 600,000 people in the UK suffer from AMD, a number that is expected to increase with the aging population. The device works with a video camera recording the scene in front of the patient. Then AI is used to convert the information to an infrared signal that is beamed to the implant. The implant stimulates undamaged retinal cells surrounding the damaged area so they can transmit the signal to the brain through the optic nerve, where it is interpreted as vision. And so I'm looking forward to getting the brain chip implant here. Now, here's a diagram of said revolutionary eye treatment. And so this should be mandated actually for everyone at birth, in my opinion, right? because we know how wonderful these medical revolutions are. So there it is on a finger. You can see 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters there. And so what are you against blind people seeing? Well, of course not. But again, as all of these technologies, it will be used against you. You see, the same with the Neuralink brain chip. Are you against crippled people being able to communicate? Are you against blind people seeing? You bastard. You know what I mean? No, I'm all for all that. But they will find somehow, some way to mandate this procedure be done to you at birth, for God's sake. You see the slippery slope of mad scientism we've already went down and continue to go down here now. And so any development in science will be abused by the scientific dictatorship against you. Make no mistake about that. We thought we were done with Meat Beyond. Nobody wants to buy this garbage. Well, Meat Beyond soars 146% after additional meme EFT and Walmart deal. Beyond Meat shares more than double in price. Roundhill Investments, which develops thematic exchange traded funds, added Beyond Meat to its Roundhill meme stock EFT, the ETF. The addition apparently caused a short squeeze with investors who bet against Beyond Meat stock, forced to cover their positions. So some more market manipulation going on there with this fraudulent 146% increase in the Beyond Meat stock price recorded today. Nobody wants this garbage, but they're going to find a way, somehow, some way, to ram it down our throats, quite literally. China says U.S. and Australia should play a proactive role to bolster rare earth supply chains. So that was very kind of China upon the announcement of U.S. and Australia signing these deals for rare earth minerals amidst the ongoing trade war with China. So China acting like the adult in the room at this point. Trump administration agrees to deliver more student loan forgiveness. Well, I thought that was a call me plot by the Biden administration. Oh, no. Turns out that Trump's on board with it as well. The Trump administration has agreed to forgive student loan debt under income-driven repayment programs it had partially blocked. The outcome is the result of an agreement between the American Federation of Teachers and the United States Department of Education. More than 2.5 million borrowers are in either the original income contingent repayment plan or pay as you earn plan, according to an estimate by higher education expert. And so the whole thing is, it's predatory lending on the youth. They should have never signed the deal, obviously. They were impressionable. They're trying to get the education that society says they have to be a success. And to do so, you have to get in a bunch of debt ahead of time. All a giant predatory lending scam. The universities should know better. They do. They don't give a damn. The government should know better. They do. They don't give a damn. The lending institutions should know better. They do. They don't give a damn. And students should know better. They do give a damn, because now they're in this perpetual cycle of debt. And so be careful what you sign, especially when it comes to loans, because especially student loans are extremely unforgiving. They can't even be discharged during a bankruptcy, you see, due to predatory lending practices by our banks. But Trump's going to bail you out like a good call me would. There you go. So thank you very much for that. Not really a bailout, but they need to allow you to discharge this debt and go after predatory lenders, because it is crippling the American youth here now. And the universities need some type of accountability as well. Where are your financial counselors at said universities of higher learning, cautioning students on taking on said debt for your education in America? It's a mess. It's a mess there. Okay, where are we at here in the show? We got about a half hour left. Well, we're on to geopolitics. We'll try to get as much information in here as we can. Here's Trump today saying that we put out 8 wars, and the 9th is coming. Overthrow of Venezuelan government, maybe, possibly.
It's going to be tough to beat, Mr. Senator. It's going to be, John, it's going to be very tough to beat Washington and Lincoln, but we're going to give it a try, right? Hey, they didn't put out 8 wars, 9 coming, all right? We put out 8 wars, and the 9th is coming, believe it or not.
I guess he's saying they're going to put out the 9th war, really? And then getting us into war. Shout out to Peter Duke at the Duke Report. He has been on a tear putting out content this last week. If you don't follow him on the Substack. Go to Substack, the Duke Report. But he's cranking them out, man. Vital, factual, important information we need to know. And here's one of his latest. I have a hard time keeping up here. I'm trying to feature at least one of his many prolific works that he's been putting out over this last week on the show. Here is Getting Us Into War, and we'll continue. Again, go subscribe on Substack to the Duke Report. It's well worth it. Getting Us Into War Explainer by, again, Peter Duke at the Duke Report.
So picture this. It's 1940. The world is on fire, but most Americans are saying, not our problem. Yet one educator, Porter Sargent, was arguing that powerful unseen forces were basically dragging the U.S. toward the conflict. Today, we're going to unpack his really controversial take on how it all went down. Right off the bat, Sargent hits us with this idea. What we call history is really just the story told by the winners. He's saying that the official narrative we get is often carefully shaped, leaving out a whole lot of the messy truth. And for him, this was absolutely central to understanding the push to get America into World War II. This is the lens for his whole argument. So who was this guy, Porter Sargent? Well, he was a Harvard-educated publisher and a pretty sharp social critic, known for being fiercely independent. He actually made his name creating the Handbook of American Private Schools, so his whole career was built on holding institutions accountable. And in an age that he felt was just full of propaganda, Sargent's voice really stood out. He was analytical, he was tough, and he truly believed that a healthy democracy needs citizens who have the guts to question power. Okay, let's get into the meat of it. Here's the big question Sargent is asking. If most Americans wanted to stay neutral, what or who was working behind the scenes to push the country into war? He argues it all came down to 3 major forces. The first force, according to Sargent, was propaganda. And he didn't just see it as lies. He called it the greatest of the arts. He believed it was this invisible, incredibly powerful tool being used to steer the hearts and minds of an entire country. I think Sargent's definition here is just brilliant. For him, it's not about crude lies, it's a subtle art. It's about painting pictures in people's minds, right? You carefully frame stories to trigger a specific feeling, maybe fear, maybe anger, and you use that emotion to guide people toward the action you wanted all along. And this wasn't just happening by chance. Sargent saw it as a deliberate, step-by-step technique. You see it here. First, you carefully select which stories to tell. Then you frame them, maybe just distort them a little, to build a narrative. The whole point is to whip up emotions, to create a wave of fear or outrage so strong that a public that wants peace will start to accept the idea of war. Now, Sargent got really specific. He pointed his finger at what he saw as a very sophisticated British campaign. He claimed it involved everything from intelligence services feeding select information to the press to bankrolling anti-German speakers in the US. He even used this phrase, graduating the dose of hate, arguing it was slowly ramped up over time. And he claimed they used prestigious journals to quietly influence the thinkers and academics. All right, so that brings us to force number 2. Sargent argued that this whole propaganda effort wasn't happening in a vacuum. It was being fueled by a powerful mix of big money and even bigger geopolitical dreams. He brings up this absolutely audacious goal from the famous empire builder Cecil Rhodes. Now, Sargent wasn't saying this was going to happen literally, but he used it to point to what he saw as a deeper motive. He suggested that very powerful people in Britain, along with their allies on Wall Street, saw the war as a golden opportunity to pull the US back into a global system led by the British. And this right here is the network that Sargent believed was pulling the strings. He's basically drawing a map connecting Wall Street giants like the House of Morgan to key players in Roosevelt's own cabinet, and then over to influential British figures. In his mind, these weren't separate worlds. They were one interconnected group with a shared agenda, getting America into the war. To back this up, Sargent points to this really striking economic fact. He basically asks, look, if 95% of the country's money is made right here at home, why on earth was our foreign policy being dominated by the 5% involved in foreign trade? For him, the influence of that tiny slice of the economy was just completely out of whack. And that leads us to the third and final force in Sargent's argument, the actions of the US government itself. He focused specifically on President Franklin D. Roosevelt, drawing a sharp contrast between what the president said in public and what his administration was actually doing. So Sargent lays out this timeline, and he argues it shows a very deliberate path to war, not just a series of unfortunate events. Just look at the contrast. In early 1938, public support for staying out of the war is at its peak, but he claims the administration was already working to dismantle the Neutrality Act. He points to things like reports of unverified submarine sightings as tactics to create a sense of crisis and break down public resistance. And then you have this, probably the most famous promise of the era. Sargent presents this as the public face of the administration's policy, but he argues that, behind the curtain, the actions being taken told a completely different story. And here's where he really lays out the contrast. While the president is promising peace, Sargent says the administration is busy taking very concrete steps toward war. We're talking about giving destroyers to Britain, shipping them weapons, and setting up naval patrols that clearly favored the British side. For Sargent, this was all the proof he needed that the US was neutral in name only. So you have to ask, what was the motive? Well, Sargent had a theory. He suggested that President Roosevelt, a bit like President Wilson before him, was running into huge roadblocks with his domestic agenda. Frustrated on the home front, he pivoted to foreign affairs, where a president has a lot more power to act alone. So what do we do with all this? You know, whether you buy Sargent's entire argument or not, his ultimate point wasn't just about 1940. It was really about the timeless duty of every citizen in a democracy. At its heart, his work is a call to action. He was pleading with people to stop just passively accepting the official story. He wanted them to start asking the hard questions. Who's really in control here? What do they really want? And maybe the most important one of all, where are my own opinions actually coming from? I just love this quote. It perfectly captures his philosophy. Sargent is basically saying, don't let your ideas turn into concrete. He championed a scientific mindset. Your understanding of the world should be like a hypothesis. It's just a temporary framework, and you should always be ready to change it when you get new information. In the end, Sargent's book is so much more than a historical critique. It's really this timeless argument for intellectual courage. It's a powerful reminder that asking tough questions, especially of powerful people, isn't being unpatriotic. It's one of your most fundamental jobs as a citizen. And that brings us right back to the beginning, with a final question that feels like it could have been written this morning. In our age of nonstop information, of competing narratives everywhere you look, Sargent's challenge is more urgent than ever. Who is writing the history that you are living through right now?
And that's from, again, Peter Duke at the Duke Report. And into current day, they're using the same tactics, refined. Now, so all the news today, at least Russia, Ukraine news, is there going to be a meeting? There's no meeting. There is a meeting between Trump and Putin. We don't know. Maybe there's a meeting. Here is Dmitriev. Putin's envoy, he says preparations for Russia-U.S. summit continue. So on the Russian side, they think there's going to be another meeting. I don't know, man. We had the Alaska one. Zelensky was just at the White House. Let's hope they stop killing people there. Here's Trump on possible meeting with Putin.
The meeting with Vladimir Putin is canceled or put on hold. Do you know what happened there, and does that affect your decision whether or not to send tomahawks?
No, I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals, agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle, the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody takes some time.
There's a lot of Hindus over there at the White House today with old Kash Patel. Russia privately sent the U.S. a, quote, non-paper restating old peace terms. Moscow wants full control of Ukraine's Donbass and no NATO troops in Ukraine. That was always the original sticking point of the unprovoked invasion there, as we know, by Putin. The proposal clashes with Trump's ideas to freeze the front lines, and that's a report out of Reuters. We're in this like loop of idiocy with Russia and Ukraine, it seems, because Russia's like, these are our terms, this is what we want. Like, huh? The Houthis are like, these are our terms, this is what we want. We'll stop shooting rockets at your ships. They're like, huh? But we can't figure out why they're doing this. It's unprovoked. No, they tell you exactly in explicit terms, we'll stop pulling the trigger if you do this. And our media and government, huh? What? We can't understand why they're attacking us. Same routine again. NATO chief Mark Rutte, I can never, I'm going to look up how to pronounce this guy's name. Anyway, this character right here that we all know and love out of NATO, Psycho, he says that, well, he's heading to Washington next week to meet up with Trump, according to Reuters. Maybe they're gonna finally end this. I don't know, man. NATO started the whole unprovoked thing, but whatever, dude. Now, it started a long time ago. We've covered it here. It's just tiring at this point. Stop killing people on both sides, Ukraine and Russia. Just stop it. For the women's rights, Japan, first female prime minister here. Let's watch this short report out of the Clash report as we celebrate Japan's first woman prime minister.
Who's Japan's first female prime minister? Meet Sanae Takeichi, a 64-year-old conservative politician who just made history as Japan's first female prime minister. She was born to a modest family. Her mother was a police officer, her father worked in an automobile company, and rose through the ranks of the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, serving as Minister for Economic Security and Internal Affairs. When the ruling coalition lost its upper house majority in July, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba resigned, opening the way for Takeichi. She won 237 votes in the lower house against Yoshihiko Noda, and she is expected to be sworn in today. Takeichi is inspired by Baroness Margaret Thatcher, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, praising her strong convictions and feminine warmth, and has long supported Abenomics, advocating for more public spending, tax cuts, and a stronger government role in Japan's central bank. Her election is more than symbolic. She signals a potential shift to the right in Japanese politics. Takeichi isn't just a politician, she's a symbol of continuity and change, balancing Japan's traditions with a historic breakthrough in leadership.
There you go, women's rights. And Denver's over there being a misogynist thing. Sounds like Japan's Obama. And what does Denver say here? I never heard of this guy, Forstall. He sounds like a good guy. Forstall was the first only cabinet level Secretary of Defense, was self-made entrepreneur, born as to a modest household, former Secretary of the Navy. He was forced to resign over PR campaigns against him. And he was forced into a hospital where he fell out of a window. Have you been to that hospital? You may jump out of the window too. No, seriously. Yeah, sounds like they whacked him. Makes you wonder how he ever got in there in the first place. But yeah, you go against the agenda, you fall out a window. These things just happen, you see. Japan rejects U.S. call to halt Russian energy imports. So we're going to have to levy heavy tariffs against Japan now. And of course, the misogynist Trump will against this first female prime minister there. And so the whole deal of we're going to geofence the world around Russian oil procurement is just ridiculous. But that's what they're trying to do. Says here that, yeah, they're threatening sanctions now against Japan. But we keep buying our rare minerals and uranium and the like from Russia. It's fine when we do it in America. But anybody else, you try to fuel that Russian war machine by procuring petroleum from Russia, and you will face the wrath of U.S. sanctions. UK officially removes our new best friend from the terror watch list. UK officials have officially removed al-Sham from its list of alleged terrorists. And so this guy, the new president of Syria, essentially, he was the head of Al-Qaeda in Syria and ISIS, but he's reformed now, and he's been taken off the terror list. So he's a good guy. And so this is a story of you can come from being wanted by Western intelligence agencies as a top terrorist to be giving speeches at the United Nations and shaking hands with the same intelligence agencies that put you in power in the first. Never mind all that. This guy's a great hero for Syria now, off of the UK terror watch list, you see. So quite a redemption story there. Syria hopes for full lifting of U.S. sanctions within months. Don't buy oil from Russia, I'll tell you that, Syria. But yeah, U.S. president has ordered most sanctions lifted on the country in May after meeting with self-appointed Syrian president al-Shara. But the Caesar Syria Civilian Protection Act of 2019 authorizing them remains U.S. law. And so the State Department and Treasury are looking to remove all sanctions because our terrorists are now reformed, you see. World Bank reveals price tag of Syria reconstruction. It exceeds $200 billion. The World Bank warns that its assessment is subject to significant uncertainty. Now, there's big piles of rubble all over Syria, as well as that civil war. How long did that last? A long friggin' time. The World Bank has announced a new report it released today that the reconstruction of Syria will cost $216 billion, revealing the massive impact on the country's economy and infrastructure as a result of the 14-year war. So there you go. Maybe BlackRock can get in there. Maybe, Kushner can get in there, make some deals. I'm sure they just care about rebuilding Syria for the Syrian people. So, yeah. Trump names Michigan cannabis entrepreneur as special envoy to Iraq. And so I'm sure he'll be well received there in Iraq. In a controversial move, Trump has appointed Mark Savia, a Detroit area cannabis entrepreneur, to serve as special envoy to Iraq. Originally from Iraq and part of Metro Detroit's Canadian American community, he runs the Leaf and Bud dispensary chain locations in Detroit, Centerline, and Hazel Park. According to Axios, he was praised by Trump for his deep understanding of Iraq-U.S. relations and for helping secure a record vote with Muslim Americans during Trump's previous campaign. Here he is on a billboard there. And so, yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't make this guy the U.S. envoy to Iraq. You know what I mean? Very professional presentation there. Notably, Savia's appointment is not without controversy. Detroit city officials and critics have previously questioned the heavy use of cannabis advertising by his company, including billboards and digital promotions. A company spokesperson has assured the ads are not explicitly targeted toward minors. Well, it's good enough for me. And then on to our Aardvark news. Aardvark Land's digital Iron Dome is as much a weapon as its bombs. Mass reporting, AI, and paid propaganda form the new front line. Here's a report out of the Cradle.
While Gaza continues to suffer under the Israeli occupation's devastating two-year campaign of ethnic cleansing, another front has opened, one that isn't waged with missiles, but metadata. Israel has built what it calls a digital Iron Dome, a vast cyber and media warfare network coordinated by its Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, intended to dominate the online narrative, suppress dissenting accounts, and protect Israel's dwindling image abroad. Documents filed under the U.S. Foreign Agents Registration Act reveal that Israel's foreign ministry hired Clock Tower, a firm run by Donald Trump's former campaign manager, in order to shape public opinion and even influence AI-generated responses on platforms like ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini. This digital apparatus uses AI and sentiment monitoring tools to track pro-Palestinian content across platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok, flagging, mass reporting, and removing anything that exposes Israel's war crimes. The campaign is backed by US and EU-aligned tech firms and bolstered by hundreds of fake Hotspur accounts that pose as neutral users while pushing state propaganda. In this ecosystem, facts are filtered through algorithms and influence contracts. Videos of civilian massacres are labeled terrorist propaganda, while Israeli military briefings and polished PR campaigns flood our timelines. The digital Iron Dome blurs the line between cybersecurity and censorship. Human rights organizations warn that this digital campaign limits free expression and obscures the realities on the ground, influencing what people worldwide believe about the genocide. The war isn't just being waged in Gaza. Now, it's being waged through the manipulation of our collective memory, and it's happening online and across your feed.
So there you go. Aardvark Land never whacked anybody, you see. Our shadow president here, Bibi, has dismissed his national security advisor, Tezchi Hannah, excuse me, had something in my throat there. This character right here has been relieved of duty. And then, he's been relieved of duty there for questioning the military operation in Gaza and strikes on Qatar. So antiseptic behavior. Out of that character, Aardvark Land's president, Isaac Herzog, discussed with families of the captives the possibility of granting the greatest man in the world, Bibi Netanyahu, a pardon in his corruption trial. So, hey, you pulled off ethnic cleansing and genocide pretty good. We're going to go ahead and pardon you in this little pesky corruption trial you got going on over here in Aardvark Land, defrauding the Aardvark public. You know what I'm saying? You did such a good job on that. We're going to go ahead and pardon you here. So we do appreciate those efforts. The sordid origins of Aardvark Land's creation. Here's Professor Roy Casagranda says the United States wanted the 6 million over there. Let's take a listen to this short clip.
The United States wanted to make sure that the Holocaust was as bad as possible. And the reason is because they wanted to make sure that there was enough international support for the creation of Israel. So if, I don't understand this calculus. It seems to me that if 2 million Jews had died, it's just as horrific as 5 million Jews dying, right? I don't think our mind differentiates between 2 and 5 million.
No.
So this was a strange calculation on their part.
They just wanted more Jews to die.
They just wanted more Jews to die. But interestingly enough, there were Jewish Zionists who were part of this. That was part of this strategy. And one of the things that Ben-Gurion kept saying is, European Jews are old Jews. We want the exciting, energetic Jews. We want the American Jews. And so there was this sort of weird anti-Semitism that had filtered into even the Jewish community that was Zionist. To believe that Zionism made sense, you had to buy the anti-Semitic argument that there was no place for Jews in Europe and the United States. So Zionism is built on anti-Semitism. It's just, supposedly it's the remedy for it, but in reality it's just the extension. There was no reason to create an Israel. You could have just created a secular Palestine and built in safeguards for the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim populations, and let as many Jews as wanted to, who had the money to buy land, move to Palestine. Yeah. What's the problem with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody in the world would have been angry by that. Yeah. In fact, the Palestinians were opening their doors and letting Jewish refugees into their homes and were living with Jewish families. And because the Palestinians did the same for Armenians too, by the way. So the Palestinians saw, this is the horrificness of it. They were welcoming the Jewish families, not realizing that there was an agenda, that there was a plan, and they were not on the good side of this plan.
Yeah, almost like they created it to fulfill this rigged up fake end times prophecy. And it's a going conspiracy of over 100 years here now in the making, that we're coming to an end. Here's some of this genocide tourism partaken by a U.S. Congress member. Valentina Gomez posted a video of herself eating popcorn as she watches Aardvark Land bomb Gaza. So, genocide tourism, anyone?
I'm in Israel, and of course Hamas violated the peace deal. Now they're getting bombed. I got my popcorn ready. Let the fireworks begin.
Wow. Wow. Here's new footage of the destruction wrought by Aardvark forces in the Jubilee refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. Short clip here. It's just everything's friggin' destroyed. So there's some terroristic rubble there for you to see. IDF has begun marking the yellow line. Well, that's good because they've actually whacked people for crossing said yellow line Here is, I think we showed an image yesterday. Here is video of them marking. And again, let's take a look so we can have a point of reference. This is the Trump peace plan lines on a map, and they've already whacked a couple people who cross this yellow line right here. You see? And so now they're actually marking it, which may be a good thing. Here's video of the IDF setting up the yellow line. No audio on this clip. Yeah, so if you cross past that, they're whacking you, man, as they've already done here, because Hamas broke the ceasefire, right? Right, of course. Yeah, don't go. You're not in a prison or anything. You're free. You see, you're liberated, but don't go across that line, or you will be whacked. Better than nothing, I guess, for what it's worth. Here's a former Mossad officer says that Aardvark Land will engineer a false flag attack to disrupt the ceasefire in Gaza. They don't even need to do that. They just say, well, we didn't get all of our hostages back. And they're like, well, they're buried under that, 10-story building that you guys blew up. It's going to take us a minute with freaking shovels to dig them out. And they're like, nope, you didn't comply. Bang, bang. Do they even need a false flag? I don't even think they need one. They don't even care. They just say whatever, make up whatever outrageous demands. And they're like, see, they didn't comply. Bang, bang.
We are going to erase Gaza. We have to take the people there and send them to Libya.
What do you see as the future for Gaza?
No future.
A parking lot? A dumping ground?
For what a creative idea.
I do.
Okay, we have agreement. Suddenly they send some missiles. Our people send missiles from inside. And then we said, oh, there is a missile from Gaza. So now we can answer them.
So you think that's also something that's possible?
Everything is possible. We are going to erase Gaza.
They wouldn't shoot missiles at themselves and then blame the terrorists, would they? They wouldn't do that. Here's Kushner. This is a flashback, almost like they've been planning this whole real estate redevelopment project for quite a while. And remember, we were promised during Trump's campaign that old Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, would not be part of this administration. Turns out he's a big part of this administration. Promises made, lies by Trump exposed.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterward. The thing that I would try to do if I was Israel right now is I would just bulldoze something in the Negev. I would try to move people in there. I know that won't be the popular thing to do, but I think that that's a better option to do so that you can go in and finish the job. In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable.
So I voted for Jared Kushner. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I voted for. Here's more on Kushner. No reconstruction funds will go into Hamas-controlled areas, he says. Well, I'm glad he's controlling this whole reconstruction effort there in Gaza. This is what I voted for, right?
No reconstruction aid, no reconstruction funds will be going into areas that Hamas still controls. And as far as the demilitarization goes, once the ISF is up, there needs to be a security force that they can feel safe from, that in order for it to be the transition to be complete. So that needs to happen. There are considerations being happening now in the area that the IDF controls, as long as that can be secured, to start the construction as a new Gaza in order to give the Palestinians living in Gaza a place to go, a place to get jobs, a place to live. So that's one of the many things being considered. Right now, again, there's been several work streams that have occurred over the last years. Those are all being synthesized and updated here at the center, and then they'll go before President Trump and the Board of Peace to get recommendations on what to build, how to phase it, but that's definitely something now that's being very strongly considered.
You can just tell old Kushner's pretty damn evil there, and a big part of our government now, apparently, telling us how it's going to go. Old Tommy Robinson is on his tour over there in Aardvark land, kissing up. He's been exposed as a Zionist shill. Let's just say it for what it is. Here he is saying that British people who turn on aardvarks have a special place in hell for them.
The UK has got a special place in my heart because on the one hand, they really helped give birth to the Jewish state in World War I. The Balfour Declaration, the San Remo Accords, the mandate for Jewish Palestine, the UK was at the forefront of that. And then they turned on us.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
They turned on us, man. And therefore they have a special place in hell for turning on the Jewish people. You were like doing this great thing. You were helping Israel be reborn after 2,000 years of exile, and it was, you know, it was a biblical value. It was also a defense for UK value, but it all turned on us. Can we turn it back?
Can we turn it back? The British government have just turned on Israel. But when
they've been turning on us for a long time.
Yeah, but when we say they, it's the British government. So let's separate the people from the establishment. The establishment have turned. It's like when the American establishment were in power under Joe Biden.
It's all playing out as was designed. You see. Here's aardvark hip hop artist Roy Kornbaum. He released a new song that's going viral on the social medias. Hey Aardvark. Let's watch this clip.
Hey Jew, they hate you. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, they'll hate it and dress it up as something sophisticated. They'll call it war crimes, or Palestine, or the IDF. They'll say that we control the banks and the US government. We turn Christian babies into matzah bread. They'll make those lies sound like facts when in fact, they just hate you. Ever noticed? No slur for Jews, no N-word, no F-word, and there's a curse for every group. But for us, it's just Jew. Say it with the right tone, and it's a curse. Here, I'll show you in this verse. Hey Jew, hey Jew. You see? The hate can go from the river to the sea, even though there was never any Palestine in between. Then it would create a justification for glorifying a nation that would kill without hesitation if you're gay, lesbian, or just a man who looked at the Quran with the wrong facial expression. Now for the sake of argument, let's say Israel does commit genocide and occupation. Show me another place where citizens are blamed for their government's action. Russia invades Ukraine, but no one hates Russians. Everybody knows Putin's to blame. Iran executes women for not covering their hair. No one hates Iranians. The truth is, most don't even care. And Turkey? They committed genocide de facto. Did the world give them a hard time? No, they gave them a seat in NATO.
No comment. But I think we gave him his wish here at Weaponized News, i.e. aardvarks, you see. Or that was part of the digital Iron Dome, actually. AIPAC is now apparently having their donors give money to candidates, quote, directly. They just walk up with an envelope full of cash through some shady back channel rather than through their own organization. Why even have any of it on the record? You know what I mean? They already they're America first at AIPAC, right? So just, I mean, come on, just hand the money over to the politician. Don't report any of it. I mean, don't be anti-aardvark. Don't be anti-septic. And they should be allowed to do this, right? So it's just, yeah. Yeah. Okay. British aardvarks can sign up to the IDF and commit war crimes with impunity without fear of prosecution. But British Palestinians can't advocate for the Palestinian resistance without getting arrested for their speech. There's a doctor, Palestinian doctor there in the UK. That was, here's the video of the arrest. A Palestinian NHS doctor has been arrested by Metropolitan Police today on behalf of the Aardvark lobby for supposed malicious communications and inciting racial hatred, all for speaking out against Aardvark supremacism. Here's a video of said arrest. There, it is very free in the UK.
US pound. In what? Sorry? She's under arrest. Why? Because you're under arrest for four offences. Malicious communication times 3, and for inciting racial hatred. I will explain to you everything. I do need to get cut on you because, like I said, I don't know what exactly in the house. So, Section 1 of the Malicious Communication Act and Section 127 of the Misuse of Public Communications Network. Again, on the 21st of July, at a pro-Palestine protest, which took place outside the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in King Charles Street, he gave a speech which amounts to calls for the eradication of Israel and implied support for all those involved in armed resistance against Israel.
And what? Israel? For Israel, the entity of Israel, the state. Israel.
I don't know, man. Tommy Robinson in that Aardvark just told me that the establishment bailed on old Aardvark land, but they're enforcing these laws. Kind of contradictory to their victim narrative, isn't it? Britain has deployed a senior commander and a small team of troops to Aardvark land at the request of the United States to help monitor the Gaza ceasefire. Report out of Sky News. So looks like they've turned on them quite well. Where are we at here? Do we even read this? Yeah, I guess. There's peace in the Middle East, we're told. Here's Trump's statement earlier today on it. Numerous of our now great allies in the Middle East and areas surrounding the Middle East have explicitly and strongly, with great enthusiasm, informed me that they would welcome the opportunity at my request to go into Gaza with heavy force and straighten our Hamas if Hamas continues to act badly in violation of their agreement with us. The love and spirit for the Middle East has not been seen like this in 1,000 years. Really, it is a beautiful thing to behold. I told these countries and Aardvark land, not yet. There is still hope that Hamas will do what is right. If they do not, an end to Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal. I would like to thank all of those countries that called to help. Also, I would like to thank the great and powerful country of Indonesia and its wonderful leader for all of the help they have shown and given to the Middle East and to the USA. To everyone, thank you for your attention to this matter. Why the F is the United States taking on Hamas? You know what I mean? But I think we know why. Well, Secretary of State, little Marco Rubio, he says that the president is delivering historic peace deal after historic peace deal, while congressional Democrats are delivering a shutdown that undermines our national security. There's peace deals rolling out everywhere. We just don't see it. UN records 71 settler attacks in 1 week across occupied West Bank. It's very peaceful there, except for these maniac settlers, ultra Zionists there. It's very peaceful. Earlier today, an aardvark quadcopter drone opened fire on Palestinians in the town of Bana Shuhali, east of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, killing one person. Simultaneously, aardvark tank fire struck a neighborhood in southern Gaza City, injuring another Palestinian. So that's sounds peaceful, right? Since the ceasefire on October 11th, there's been 80 Palestinians killed, 303 injured, and total bodies recovered from previous attacks, 426. So mostly peaceful here. Statement by the Palestinian Ministry of Health: 13 dead arrived at Gaza Strip hospitals, including 7 due to direct targeting, and 6 others recovered, and 8 injuries reported in the last 24 hours. They go on to say a number of victims are still under the rubble and the roads as ambulance and civil defense teams are unable to reach them. Officials say, who's this? The UN, I believe, that only 986 aid trucks entered Gaza since the ceasefire began 11 days ago. Gaza's government media office says just 986 trucks of aid have entered since the ceasefire took effect October 10th, far below the 6,600 or 600 trucks times 11 days agreed upon. Hamas, dude, they violated the ceasefire agreement. You see, only 14 trucks carried cooking gas and 28 diesel for bakeries, hospitals, and generators. Officials warn the flow averaging just 89 trucks a day instead of the promised 600, of which 50 are required to be fuel trucks, deepens Aardvarkland's policy of starvation and humanitarian extortion through the weaponization of hunger. Since the worst attack in the history of the world, October 7th, Aardvarkland has launched 158 attacks on the West Bank, olive pickers, trying to destroy the agriculture and that industry. They're terrorists, so, you know, mostly peaceful. There's video of it, but they're tearing out the Palestinian Wall and Settlement Resistance Commission said Aardvarkland forces and settlers have already carried out 158 attacks on olive pickers since the start of harvest in early October, by 17 by soldiers and 141 by settlers. Most occurred in Nablus and Ramallah, with farmers facing assaults, arrests, road closures, intimidation, and live fire. 795 olive trees were destroyed in 74 separate attacks on the olive growing lands there in the West Bank. Well, those are terraced olives, obviously. And what do we got? We're almost done here. Yeah, let's hear from Trump on Hamas. Of course, we just saw it. We went over how Hamas violated all of the ceasefire agreements.
the Hamas situation, where they're pretty violent people, I would say. That we could put that out in 2 minutes. We're giving them a chance. You know, they agreed that they'd be very good, very straight. They wouldn't be killing people, and they have killed people. That wasn't the deal we made. But if they don't honor the deal, they'll be taken care of very quickly. But I'd rather not have to do that. But we have total peace in the Middle East.
We're taking care of Hamas now, Trump? Apparently. Here's J.D. Vance over there in Aardvark land telling us how peaceful it is.
Let me just leave us with one final thought here. So I've been to Israel once in my entire life. I came for about 36 hours, and as a Christian, I think the world's Christians will know that this country, that this region of the world means a great deal to me. And at some point today, I hope to go, or at some point in the next couple of days, I should say, I hope to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which Christians believe is the site that Jesus Christ was crucified in. And I know that Christians have many titles for Jesus Christ, and one of them is the Prince of Peace. And I'd ask all people of faith, in particular my fellow Christians, to pray that the Prince of Peace can continue to work a miracle in this region of the world. I think that we have made incredible strides over the past week. We're going to have to make a lot more, but I think with your prayers, with God's providence, and
More from Vance.
good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you. Look, I think that we are 1 week into President Trump's historic peace plan in the Middle East, and things are going, frankly, better than I expected that they were. This is a very, very tough situation. You have two peoples, two enemies who have fought a very tough conflict against each other. You have a terrorist organization on one hand that murdered a lot of innocent people. You've got an Israeli army that was defending itself on the other, that has learned a lot over the past couple of years. And of course, you have an innocent civilian population in Gaza that's caught in the middle. But we're here at the Civilian Military Cooperation Center, which we are announcing the opening of. You have Israelis and Americans working hand in hand to try to begin the plan to rebuild Gaza, to implement a long-term peace, and to actually ensure that you have security forces on the ground in Gaza, not composed of Americans, who can keep the peace over the long term. So we've got a lot of work left to do. This is going to take a very, very long time, but I think Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Admiral Cooper behind me have done an incredible job. I want to say just a couple of quick things, and then I would turn it over to Steve Witkoff. Number one, the Israeli government has been remarkably helpful in this. I want to thank them, thank our Israeli partners, and all the folks particularly who are working hand in hand with their American friends here at the CMCC. And number two, I want to say that there is this weird attitude I've sensed in the American media and the Western media where there's almost this desire to root for failure, that every time something bad happens, that every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire, this is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that.
There you go. Mostly peaceful as they stack the bodies there, you see. And then Qatar says Aardvark land has committed genocide in Gaza. So I don't know how we square all this. Well, Qatar has cooperating with Qatar in Idaho at our Air Force base. So, and Trump did get a $500 million jumbo jet from Qatar. So it's probably just fine that Qatar says these things against the Aardvarks. It was Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamid Al Thani. They have long freaking names. He said that Aardvark land's campaign in Gaza is nothing less than genocide. Well, according to the United Nations international definition, he is correct. He also condemned Aardvarkland's repeated violations of the ceasefire and the destruction that has made Gaza uninhabitable. So, I don't know. I guess they feel like they got some cards and can say what they think. No? And with that, let's wrap up this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Let me go to the channels quickly here and see where we're at in the chats. Not much chat going on there. Shout out to John on the Odysee. Shout out to Gurr. He said he will circle back around. I understand the time difference there. But thank you guys for, thank you, John, for a few comments. The Fabian Socialists have been working against us for over 100 years. Almost like it's a long-term plan, a violent revolution, or the slow conquering of the institutions by the socialists. Thank you for tuning in on Odysee. Thank you for tuning in on the Bitchute, the Rumble. Sorry, no chat integration, but again, apologies to the Rumble audience. I don't know what was the deal yesterday, but we weren't able to live stream. Maybe it was the internet outage. Maybe it was my mistake. I don't know. But anyway, happy to see you today. Thank you for tuning in to this Tuesday edition on the Rumble. We have Chloe, Pamela, Duel, Karen, Silver. Thank you guys for tuning in. Not that much chat today. Actually, we had, well, we're spread out today. Anyhow, thank you for tuning in on the Rumble. Duel says HR 4310, Section 1078 is the law that provides the avenue for the taxation or for the theft of tax monies from Americans and for the money to be used to brainwash propaganda innocent and unwitting Americans. Wow. And the links there. Quite horrific there, Duel. Quite horrific. Has that passed? Look up. We will look it up and report on it here, Duel. Thank you for that link. Yeah, thank you for tuning in on Rumble, for chatting it up there. And what do we got? YouTube. Thank you guys for the comments on the YouTube and tuning in there. Twitch, Facebook, X, Kick. And with that, as always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening.